Oh god. I really hope this camera is in focus right now. I've been having a lot of issues with this one. The only reason I'm filming with this one instead of my other one is because I forgot to charge the battery, which is a pretty typical mistake for me to make, honestly. But I'm going to continue talking about the rest of the Fog Lake tour in this video. I'm going to be drinking a little beer called Knotty Buoy Pilsner from Spindrift Brewing Company. The last beer I drank was also from Spindrift. It was called the Abyss Lager, and I really enjoyed it, so I've got a good feeling that I'm going to enjoy this one too. But before I get into things, I'm recording this after a long day of work, so I'm tired as hell. Number two, I think I'm sick or having an allergic reaction to something, so maybe I shouldn't be drinking this, but hey, fuck it, you only live once, right? So without further ado, there it goes. Yeah. Wait, how much percentage is this? 4.8. Let's see here. Yeah, no other information on here. Again, brewed in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, of course, like I said for the last video with Spindrift. The only ingredients here: water, malt, hops, and yeast. All you need for a good beer. Let's pour this sucker up. It's got a nice golden color. I like that. Oh shit. Still haven't quite figured out how to pour appropriately yet. It'll come. It'll come in time. Getting that foam mustache on the go. I quite like this one. It reminds me of other beers that you get in Newfoundland, like the really common ones like India or Black Horse or stuff like in that vein, which of course as a Newfoundlander I love. So it's interesting to have a beer from Nova Scotia that has a very similar taste to that. But anyway, on to the Fog Lake tour. So I believe I left off when we were on our way to San Diego. And on our way there, we stopped at the beaches and we got out, and you know, it was amazing because it was the first time seeing the like iconic beaches in California, you know, that you see in like every movie that takes place in California. We saw so many surfers, like so many of them, and it's something that, you know, when being a Canadian, of course, especially being on the East Coast, it's something you only see in movies, and when you see it in person, it kind of makes stuff like that all the more real. Like you realize, like, wow, like, you know, this is something that's actually like a huge deal out in this part of the continent, right? But then we got back in, we went to San Diego, and if I remember correctly, the San Diego show was kind of a bust. Like, not a whole lot of people were there. We did have this one guy show up who was like the most punishing person I think I've ever witnessed in my life. It was kind of insane. Like, he just would not leave us alone. It was kind of fucked, actually, if I'm being completely honest. But like, somehow he managed to get his way into the bar before anyone else, before the doors had opened, which like really like freaked me out, freaked everyone else in the band out, so that was kind of strange. The show went fine. Fortunately, our projector didn't work for that one, so we couldn't, of course, project the Blair Witch Project behind us. But other than that, I think it was okay, aside from the fact that not a lot of people showed up. We were kind of expecting it to be a bust anyways. The night after that, though, was when things got really interesting, because we went to Tucson, Arizona, which, for people who don't know, it's apparently the most popping fucking city, like, in that section of the U.S. because holy shit, the nightlife there was insane. So like, there's so much stuff that happened that trying to remember the sequence of events is like, I don't know, it's hard, it's difficult. But I guess the first thing that happened is we get there and we loaded all our stuff into the venue. And the thing about this venue is that it's a venue downstairs as well as a bar, and then there's a hotel upstairs, and they put the bands that play there up in the hotel. Of course, they give it to you for free, which is really cool, or, well, it's included in whatever. And apparently, the hotel itself is haunted, which, of course, I don't believe in ghosts, but some of the other guys do. So it was an interesting experience to be staying in a haunted hotel, of all places. But we get there, we bring all our stuff up, we load in, we sound check, everything's good to go. We had a really great sound guy as well, very professional dude, probably some of the best sound that we've had, on the tour. But in between the time where we got our sound check done and when we went to go play, Aaron went off to go check the Lil Peep Memorial, because for people who don't know, Tucson, Arizona is the city where Lil Peep actually died. And the memorial itself is a bar called The Rock, I'm pretty sure. So Aaron went there, and we were all just like chilling at the hotel, we were eating food, we had a great big meal. We were just kind of hanging out up in the hotel room, and then Aaron gets back, bangs on the door, comes in just totally out of breath, and we're like, what the fuck happened? And it turns out that when he went there, he took an Uber, and when he signed the memorial and went to take a picture of it, he realized that he actually left his phone in that Uber. So he ran all the way from the memorial back to the venue, and then came upstairs, got us to figure out how to like contact Uber so we could get our lost items back, and then we had to wait for this person to show up. The only issue is that they didn't show up, and they said that they would call us, right? Which was, it was super nerve-wracking, but eventually like we called them back and we got through. We called them like 10 times and they just like wouldn't pick up and they wouldn't answer. We finally got in contact with the Uber driver again, and they said like, oh yeah, like your phone's downstairs in the lobby. I just left it there because you didn't show up. And it's like, bitch, we told you to call us, but you didn't. So like, don't blame that on us. This is your fault. Why didn't you call us? We told you to. You said that you would. Anyway, that was nuts. So we went and played. We played fine. It wasn't the best night because, again, like I mentioned in the last video, a few nights prior, Aaron found out that his friend John from Glovertown, where me and him are from, had actually passed away. He committed suicide. And it was really nerve-wracking for him especially. So even though that had happened, obviously we still had to perform. I mean, you're on tour, you can't just like not do it. But it was super hard, and I remember the Tucson show was a bit difficult. But we had some really, really crazy fans out in the audience, people who really loved Aaron and just really enjoyed what he was doing, and they were so into it that it didn't matter that there were issues with like the guitar, that he fucked up his strings or whatever. Like, the reaction from the crowd made that performance worth it. But the thing is that after we were done, they had another show going on that night because they had double booked it, and the next show that was happening was a fucking DJ set. So we went up to the hotel and we kept like hanging out or whatever, and then we go back downstairs after we hear the music start, and like it's just fucking popping off. You look inside the windows, there's like wine-ups for like every bar on that corner, like going all the way down the street. There's just like, there's probably like close to 500 people on this one street corner, right, for all these little bars at this intersection. It was fucked. So we went downstairs and everyone is just like, you know, dancing their heart out. It's like the kind of like modern club scene that I really kind of hate. Like really, like I'm obviously not saying this to like slut shame anyone. I don't give a shit. and this gets directed towards everyone that was there, not just the women, but like the men too, like everyone. It's like that kind of slutty dancing where you're, you know, grinding up on everyone. And it was just like a wild scene. Like the DJ was up on stage and there was people like dancing around him and shit. But it was like penetratingly loud. You know, like we were upstairs in our hotel room and our room was literally right above the stage. So the speakers, they were blasting this like absurdly loud bass music. You know, it was like I was standing directly on top of it, basically, because the floor was probably like this thick. So that was fucked. I ended up not being able to get to sleep until like probably 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was due in part because of the music, which didn't stop until 2, and also because of Aaron snoring. Because that motherfucker snores, and he snores loud. And me and him stayed in one room while the other 2 guys stayed in another room. So that was not the most fun night. Unfortunately, I was in a pretty dour mood the next day. I was kind of pissed off, but you know, it is what it is. Now another thing too, I forget where we went next. I can't remember if Tucson was the second last show, or if there was another one in between that and Vegas. I'm just looking it up right here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so it was the second last show. That was at a place called Club Congress, by the way. So the next day we got back in our van and yeah, we drove to Vegas, and it was so cool because we got to drive over the Hoover Dam, which was insane. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Fallout New Vegas, so getting to see so many of these locations from that video game in person, you know, like driving across the Hoover Dam, getting to see Lake Mead, all those places, it was so surreal because it was such a formative game to me, and getting to see that in person, man, like nothing will compare to that. Even driving through the Mojave Desert, the entire time we were driving through, the only thing I could think was that fucking quote from Fallout New Vegas. Oh my god, what is it? Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. Like, that was just like plastered across my brain the entire time that we were there. But we finally got to Vegas, and you know, Vegas was a fun time. We stayed in a hotel. It was also a casino, because I mean, all the hotels there are like half hotel, half casino. And we stayed in what I swear to God is by far the best, most ritzy hotel room I've ever stayed in my life. Like, the shower in that thing was exquisite. The bed was super comfortable. There was so much space. We had an amazing view of like old Vegas. It was honestly just incredible. Me and David ended up walking around the strip because Aaron, Warren, and Dylan didn't want to. They ended up getting up to something else. But me and David walked around the strip for 3 hours. It was amazing. It was a place I never thought I would see in person. Once again, I know I've said that a lot, but it was just unreal getting to see something that I never thought I'd get to see, just with my own eyes. It was a life-changing experience, honestly. And one day I'm gonna go back there. I didn't really do any gambling or anything like that, just because I didn't have money. And I'd be worried about taking money to a Vegas casino and just like blowing it all. So I didn't do anything like that. But you know, we just got to see it, and even just seeing it was worth the experience in and of itself. The Vegas show was fine. We played okay. Aaron did a cover, actually, of one of Warren's songs, which was really cool. And there was a decent crowd there, but you know, we got paid a lot of money for that one show, and that was pretty cool, even though not a lot of people showed up. But you know, whatever. And slept really well. Well, I say I slept well. The sleep was fine. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep though. It was only like 4 or 5 hours, because we had to wake up super early to get to the airport the next day. We got to the airport, checked in, went through security. I brought back a bunch of beer with me, of course, because why wouldn't I? in the States, you know, getting all this beer that you can't get elsewhere in Canada. And we flew back to Montreal and got back home. I brought my stuff back to the apartment and then went to hang out with my girlfriend, Erin, immediately. So that was the Fog Lake tour, January 2020. And to my knowledge, I think we're going to be doing it again in April, this time back on the East Coast. So stay tuned for more about that. Until next time.